Breaking news here on SportsCenter. The Chicago Bulls on the verge of landing Dwyane Wade, believing they have trade partners willing to take on Jose Calderon, Mike Dunleavy to clear the necessary salary cap space. Wade, a Chicago area native, looking to be coming home, just as his former teammate LeBron James did. Welcome into SportsCenter. A lot of ground to cover with Diana Rossini. I am Max Bretos. Just like we saw with Kevin Durant, one city celebrates another, well, bad news, and that one this time around is Miami.
Yeah, the Miami only offered 2 years, $40 million. Dwyane Wade said he was worth 2 years, $50 million. Is sort of a Kobe Bryant type deal is what he was looking for, and it seems that the Chicago Bulls are going to be the team that are going to be able to give him the money that he is looking for. But in terms of what he means to the city of Miami, a legacy there with the Heat, Israel Gutierrez takes a look back at what he means to Miami.
The Miami Heat select Dwyane Wade from Marquette University.
Miami didn't know what it was getting when Dwyane Wade arrived in 2003. All we knew was he wasn't LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony or Chris Bosh. We found out quickly, though, because he introduced us to that blinding crossover. Because he enjoyed exploding to the rim the most when there was a defender in his way. Because it took him all of one playoff game to prove he loved the enormous moments.
There is Wade, yes, with 1.3 to go, the rookie Dwyane Wade.
Wade didn't even know what Miami was getting. He was almost discovering his basketball genius just as we were. It was Shaquille O'Neal who helped Wade recognize his superstar potential. And fortunately for Miami, Wade was a quick study.
And the Miami Heat are champions of the basketball world!
In his third year in the league, Wade put together a finals performance for the ages, bringing a basketball championship to a city that still had a handshake relationship with the sport, despite passionate 90s playoff runs from Alonzo Mourning, Tim Hardaway, and company. Wade turned that into a smothering embrace, and for the rest of his time here, Miami never let go.
And Dwyane Wade cannot get up off the deck. He is in a lot of pain.
Wade fought through shoulder and knee and hamstring pain. He captured a scoring title. He made transitions easier for two rookie head coaches and further enhanced the legacy of Pat Riley. He claimed American Airlines Arena as his house. And then he invited some friends over. It doesn't matter whose idea it was to unite LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Wade on one team. The only reason the notion even arose was because number 3 was here. And boy, was this house party epic.
And Miami wins!
It's back-to-back titles for the Heat.
Wade played so many roles in those 4 years. From leading man to willing sidekick. From frustrated cheerleader to hobbled savior. Wade became the greatest athlete this corner of the country had ever known. Greater than any single football player in a once football-only town. And now he's gone. Wade's work here is done. Turns out he may not be a Heat lifer.
Miami native Israel Gutierrez has covered the Heat and Dwyane Wade most of his career there in Miami. He worked for the Miami Herald before working for us here at ESPN. He's also host of the George and Izzy show on ESPN Radio. Izzy, my first question for you is, they've gone through this song and dance before. What do you think has changed?
Just time and experience, meaning they've done this before. And from Dwyane Wade's perspective, he hadn't seen the type of respect and the type of just adoration that he felt like he deserved from a franchise that he was most responsible for bringing 3 championships to, that he was most responsible for bringing LeBron James and Chris Bosh to, that he was the reason Shaquille O'Neal wanted to come to Miami, and they won a championship together in '06. And all of that has been paid off in a way that really Dwyane hasn't been satisfied with. In this particular negotiation, you've got Pat Riley, Mickey Arison, and the Miami Heat trying their best to bring Kevin Durant to Miami, and Durant and doing whatever it takes, meaning Hassan Whiteside would take a discount. They would move whatever bodies necessary to make that happen. And for Dwyane Wade, not nearly as much. And it really is just a cold and calculated way of dealing with what the Heat view and, most of America views as an aging superstar who, is not necessarily worth the money that these guys get paid. You think of Kobe Bryant and his final contract, of course. But in reality, this was a marriage that felt like it ended a bit early. And, a guy like Hassan Whiteside, that discount that he would have taken for Kevin Durant, that discount would have absolutely worked to keep Dwyane Wade in play, but he wasn't willing to take it. The Heat weren't willing to do enough to keep him happy, and that was enough for him to say, 13 years, and I'm still treated this way. It's enough. And we're in a time where player empowerment is what the NBA is about. And Dwyane Wade felt like he was always sort of strapped to the Miami Heat and doing what they pleased and not what he wanted to do necessarily. And while he got 13 years of amazing success in Miami and 3 championships, it still wasn't, this negotiation just wasn't the type of
Saw Pat Riley signed Hassan Whiteside immediately. Izzy, what kind of message do you think that sent to Dwyane Wade that he took care of Whiteside and just sort of let him go?
It was, this is how he responded to that message. It was basically, a guy that's given you 1.5 years of quality basketball. And go back and look. Hassan played his best basketball with Dwyane Wade on the floor. And Dwyane Wade knew that. And Dwyane Wade knew what his responsibility was in building up what we've seen of Hassan Whiteside. And yet, again, the Miami Heat not willing to necessarily do what it takes to keep Dwyane happy. And you would think, and look, I see both sides of this. I understand separating and parting ways with the superstar who's no longer what he was in his prime, and that the money is not worth, quote, intoxicated by the winning, and so they choose to try to get that again rather than, please the guy who's brought them that feeling to begin with. And it's a very interesting dynamic, and it is what sports is about. And you have to deal with this type of heartbreak and this type of, divorce, if you will, from, player and city. And it's massive. And we just saw what happened with Kevin Durant. And that wasn't even as many years or at any championships at all. And so you could argue that this breakup between Dwyane Wade and the Miami Heat, or Miami, is just more intense and more severe than the breakup between Kevin Durant and Oklahoma City.
Izzy, I'm anchoring tonight with Max Bretas, who's from Miami, and he was explaining to me during the commercial break that sometimes Miami fans are a little slow to react to anything that occurs in sports. But we recently just saw in Oklahoma City. Quote, but it was close to it. We recently saw in Oklahoma City, though, fans just absolutely crushed with Kevin Durant going out to the Warriors. We saw Miami upset once LeBron left Miami to go back to Cleveland. How do you think fans are going to respond to this?
This is the amazing part. Further, even deeper, amazing success of Pat Riley. He has not only helped, and Dwyane, largely Dwyane, but, Dwyane, Pat Riley, LeBron James have not only helped turn Miami into a basketball town in a time where the football team has just been down, but Pat Riley and the Miami Heat have convinced this fan base that he's the one to trust. And there is a sort of sadness sweeping over South Florida right now. But given that Dwyane Wade went through these contract negotiations last year, and given that he went through it again this year, and, he did his part, which is not fantastic. He did his part where he made these public negotiations, and he made, last year in particular, put out some social media posts that did not exactly, make it look like he and the Heat were working together. And I understand that part. But down here, people are going to be saddened, but they also are going to feel like they've got the best of the best you could get out of Dwyane Wade. And now Pat Riley, they believe, is putting this team in position to build again and win another championship. And there's no doubt in the fans' minds in Miami that he will find a way to get his hands on a Russell Westbrook or some rising star and find a way to build around, the group that he has now, Justice Winslow, Hassan Whiteside, etc. But that trust has been built largely on the idea of having Dwyane Wade by his side and winning championships with one of the best shoot guards ever to play the game. And so it's going to really test the fan base's devotion of Pat Riley if he doesn't turn this around quickly, because then they'd say, man, we gave up on Dwyane Wade for what?
Exactly. Wade County's going to have to go back to being calling Dade County. Israel Gutierrez.
Nice.
From the George and Izzy Show, thank you so much for joining us here live on SportsCenter.
Got it.
Let's keep it going. Ramona Shelburne, who covers all things NBA, joins us now. And it's been a tectonic few days here in free agency on 4th of July. We know why Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City. He got a lot of money, but he wanted to win. Why did Dwyane Wade leave Miami?
Well, I think he felt disrespected. I mean, I spoke to somebody around very close to this process who said, you know, Miami just dared a very proud man to go home. And that man just saw his best friend, LeBron James, win a title by going home. I mean, you know, Dwyane Wade went through this last year and resolved it with just a one-year, $20 million contract. Then he read quotes from Pat Riley at the end of the Heat season where he basically said, you know, we're going to do right by Dwyane Wade. We know what he means to this franchise. He's been here for 13 years, and, you know, you can't quantify that with just a contract. I mean, everything the Heat was saying and doing after the season would have led Dwyane Wade to believe that they were going to take care of him. He had a resurgent year this year after having injury problems the last 2 or 3 years. He dropped 20 pounds, got into incredible shape. He felt like, you know what, I've reached the point in my career where it's time for you to give back to me. And I think none of us in the league, when we first started covering this story, really felt that he would leave Miami because we knew how much it meant to him and how much he meant to the city. As somebody who covered Kobe Bryant for the last stages of his career, I just couldn't ever see Kobe leave Los Angeles and go join another team. But the Lakers made sure it never got to that because they gave him that 2-year, $48.5 million contract that was widely panned around the league. But when I would speak to the Lakers about it, they said, you know, this is a statement more about how we want to conduct ourselves as a franchise. And as much as we felt about Kobe Bryant and what he's meant to this franchise, Dwyane Wade and Kobe Bryant are very good friends. And I think he expected he would get the same treatment in Miami. And when he didn't, and he saw other teams like the Bulls willing to jump through a lot of hoops, you know, they were searching out trade partners for Jose Calderon and Mike Dunleavy and doing whatever they could to free up more salary cap space to go and sign him. You know, he saw other teams go the extra mile to try and get him, and he didn't see that from the Miami Heat. I still am pretty stunned that he decided to leave. That's a really big move for a guy like Dwyane Wade, who's incredibly loyal. But that is the level of his dissatisfaction. And frankly, if there was one place he could leave to go to where it wasn't just about the money, where it wasn't just about revenge, it would be to go to Chicago. That's his hometown, and that was the franchise that we all thought, you know, I wasn't buying Denver, I wasn't buying Milwaukee, but I was buying Chicago because that is where Dwyane Wade is from, and that is the franchise that he flirted with pretty heavily in 2010 when he was a free agent the last time.
And he gets to go home. And it seemed to be a good fit. And you said you're shocked. I think a lot of people share those sentiments. You know, they say the NFL is a year-round league. If this keeps going, the NBA will follow suit. Lots of reaction flowing in. Ramona,
Sure.
what has the league, the players, how have they responded to all of this?
Well, I mean, before I came on the air, I don't know if you saw me just sitting here on my phone, and every player I'm texting is, I think the general response is, wow, right? Nobody really thought this would get to this point. But, you know, you got the other side of it you got to look at for Miami. Why would Miami be unwilling to increase its offer? Here's what it would have taken. They would have had to ask Hassan Whiteside to take less, or they would have had to trade Josh McRoberts. Those are things that seem pretty easy for them to do. But now look ahead to next summer when guys like Russell Westbrook, Blake Griffin, Chris Paul, all of these star players are going to hit free agency next year. The Heat still have uncertainty with Chris Bosh and his medical situation. But if, depending on where things stand with Bosh, they owe him $70-something million over the next 3 years. But if he's unable to continue playing in the NBA, his salary would come off the books next February. So it's 1 year to the date from when he played his last game. The Heat all of a sudden would have a tremendous amount of salary cap space. And so when you think of why the Heat would not want to increase its offer to Dwyane Wade, you've got to be thinking 5, 6, 7 steps down the road in terms of projecting out free agency in the NBA the next couple of years.
Ramona, let's stay with the Heat. It was kind of like a card game here, and they wanted to call Dwyane Wade's bluff There was no bluff in the end. What has been the Heat's reaction now that it appears from all reports that he is becoming a Bull?
Yeah, I mean, I've been talking to the Heat all day and just various people associated with the organization. I don't think that they really thought he would do this. I really think there's this shock as well, because he had, the sense we were all getting from Miami was that they thought they would work it out in the end like they always do. I mean, that's what happens when long marriages end. I mean, it's just, there's one last big fight, I guess. And it's, when you talk to the Heat all day long, I still refuse to believe that he would really do this, even though chatter around the league had sort of gotten louder that he might really go to Chicago because it is his hometown and because they were working on a couple of trades that they could make. And it's interesting for Chicago because just a little while ago, Gar Forman, the general manager, said, well, we need youth and athleticism. He sort of admitted their championship window might be closing. Well, this is like the move of a team that looks like it's going for youth and athleticism. They just signed Rajon Rondo, or they just agreed to terms with Rajon Rondo. And Jimmy Butler, from what I hear, was active in recruiting Dwyane Wade here. Oh. Jimmy Butler went to Marquette just like Dwyane Wade. It's an interesting reboot that the Chicago Bulls have done, and I don't know if they meant to do it, but when the opportunity presented itself, they went after it, and that's going to be a very interesting team going forward now with Rajon Rondo, Jimmy Butler, and Dwyane Wade.
It sure is. I know the Heat and Bulls wear similar colors, but it's going to take a lot of getting used to see him with the Bulls as opposed to Heat in the front. Ramona Shelburne joining us here on SportsCenter as we continue discussion on Dwyane Wade. And we will continue the coverage. Interesting what Ramona said there, that Jimmy Butler was active in bringing Dwyane Wade. When you look at the two players play similar roles, they're going to have to share some shots along the way to make this successful.
I forgot about that Marquette connection as well. It's going to be interesting to see how that even all works together with Fred Hoiberg